Let me go ahead and give you that. Well, this is the resources for today, and for Sunday is the other one. But let me go ahead and say welcome to American TESOL Presents Free Friday Webinars. I'm Shelly Sanchez-Terrell, and we are here every single Friday. You can get a free certificate from American TESOL, which is certified by, I forgot which college, but it is. And we have over 200, I think, webinars now that you can access the resources, you can download the slides, and we cover lots and lots of topics. So we cover anything from mobile learning to e-learning to EdTech to even simple things like last week I think we covered using Play-Doh in the classroom. So you can find lots and lots of different resources. Today we're going to talk about Google Communities, which is a free tool. And the tools and the web resources that are shared are free. For the most part, I try to always share free stuff. So I know teachers don't have a lot of money, so that way you can take advantage of these resources. But there's a lot of free tools out there, and they really help you to do a lot of things. Now, the reason I'm talking about Google Communities is because I was looking for a long time on something that would help my learners be more active outside the classroom, because as you know with language learners, and if you just came into the webinar, feel free to share what age group you teach, what subject you teach, and where in the world you teach, and we would be happy to see that. And there's the link, by the way, Alexandra, for what you were asking for, the webinar on Sunday. And just to let you know, I think that everything Google is quite fascinating and amazing. It's really saved me as a teacher. I can't stress enough to teachers how they should start using Google tools and how they really should learn Google, because it has helped me manage classes of 500. And I'm always discovering new ways, and it makes grading faster. It makes the ability to free up my time so I can offer feedback to a massive amount of students. It helps me to save time with grading and organizing and putting things in calendars. It does so much for you. So I really like to stress to teachers they should learn about the Google tools and apps that are out there, because they're free. And once your institute gets started using them, then it's going to save you a lot of headaches. I really like this Albert Einstein quote because I think when we have language learners and we want to inspire them to continue learning outside the classroom, and that's the most important part of their learning, because in the classroom we focus on grammar, we might show them the structure of language, we might make corrections, but what we need them to do is we need them to practice in authentic learning. We need them to be part of conversations with their peers, and even if they are in the situation where the entire country or around them, they're surrounded by their native language, we want them to practice English. Or even if you're teaching math or science or anything like that, then you want them to participate and learn outside the classroom, because you only have that small amount of time in class. And let's face it, they get a lot of instruction and they don't get to really just spur of the moment to learn with what you showed them. So I think it's important they get to do that. And with Google Communities, I've been able to inspire students to do that. They have to be at least 13 years old. That is the requirement. So if you're using it with young learners, it's not meant for anyone under 13. Oh, thank you, Peggy, for sharing that quote from George Kiros. He's pretty inspiring, so doesn't surprise me he has those quotes. The first thing you want to do whenever you have a platform, whether you use Edmodo, And I have used Edmodo. And once again, I stayed yesterday because I have an upcoming course come on mobile learning. And my upcoming course, I was trying to see what would be the best way to engage my students and really keep tabs of them. And so I tried Edmodo, but I still think, I went back to Google Communities. I still think Google Communities is better for my students. If you teach young learners, though, then Edmodo is a really good option. Edmodo is probably the best online platform for kids, other than, of course, kid blogs. But Edmodo is a good platform. I just prefer Google Communities, especially with older students. There's a reason for it. So an acceptable use policy is basically a form, and you can find a lot of different free ones, and I'll give you a link to ones that you can adapt. And what this says is this tells parents, this is the community we're using, we want your permission, and these are the rules the student has to follow, and these are the consequences if the students don't follow that. And that's really important. The reason it's important is because we want to make sure that our students are responsible, that they don't pick on each other, that they have very positive interactions. And if they don't, because sometimes they won't, then they know why they know what kind of consequences that they're going to have for that. This is an example here. In its short address, it's bit.ly AUP example. It's a really good example. It's from Burlington Public Schools, which is run by Patrick Larkin. He used to be the principal there, and he's done a phenomenal job and created these documents that you can adjust. The great thing is if you open this up in a Google document, you can even translate the language. So that way you can translate it for the parents of your students. And so if you are in a Spanish-speaking country or in Russian, or I used to teach in Germany, so the parents might be able to understand it more that way. And you can do that easily if you put this in Google. There are a lot of cool features about Google Communities that no other online learning platform has. Now, Google Communities is a way for you to have an online forum, like a social network almost, or an online discussion area for your classroom. And the reason, you might say, well, why would I want that? Well, you can make it private, by the way, but the reason you would want that is because you want your students to continue the learning afterwards. You want them to also be able to have an area to where they can get together and they can help each other with homework, and they can learn from each other. And Google Communities is really great for that. One of the best features it has that no other platform has is what's called Google Hangouts. And Hangouts allows you to have real-time video chat with up to 10 people. You can share, you can collaborate on these chats. They're more than video chat. You might say, oh, I have Skype. Skype is great. But with Google Hangouts, you can work on video and you can chat. You can have a chat box. You can work on the same document. You can edit the same document. You can watch a YouTube video together. You can share your screen. So there's so many different things that you can do with Google Hangouts. And if the students want to do a presentation, they do it online, they can even record it and it'll go straight to the YouTube channel. But the great thing about that is they don't even have to do anything else. It's just there. It's very simple to do. You can edit status updates, so it looks a little like, now it's getting to be more like Facebook. I wish it was a little bit more like Facebook groups. The only thing that I don't like about it, so if you participate in Facebook groups, you have a little bit of an idea of what Google Plus communities can look like. So it's a lot like a Facebook group, but it's a bit better. It's nicer looking. The other thing about it is that you can create profiles. You can have hashtags just like you do on Facebook and Twitter. You can post updates, photos, links, videos. And that's my favorite part too. When you post to Google Plus, your links show up. So if you post a YouTube video, it shows up. If you post a picture link, it automatically shows up. And when you're trying to engage kids, when you're trying to get them to comment on each other's presentations, it's important that they visually see it. I recently looked at Wiki Classrooms and I thought it was a great platform. But when I try to post the link, you can't see it. You just see the link. And I thought, can't use it. Because kids now, they want to be able to see it fast. They don't want to click a link. They want to see a picture and then they're engaged. They want to see a presentation like a PowerPoint or something and then they'll be engaged. Or they want to see a video and then they'll look at it. And all of those pop up with Google+. I know sometimes in Edmodo it pops up too, but one of the things that the advantage of Google+ is that Edmodo, the hashtags don't work right. In other words, if you have a tag, it's not going to link to a different profile. It's not going to link to a page where everybody can have something on that hashtag. Google does allow you to have hashtags, and it makes a whole different page. So let's say, for example, your students post questions throughout the semester that they want to ask you, okay? You could have a special hashtag that says questions, ESL questions, or business questions, or whatever you want to make the hashtag. And then every time they use that number sign with question, then it'll all show up in one page. So it makes it easier to follow that. Let me go ahead and show you the different parts. So first, you can create a Google Plus profile. And the great thing is once your students create this, it's very professional looking. So you can see mine. I made it all nice. I chose not to have this big background. You can have a background or not. I chose to keep a small one because I like it better. I think it looks more professional. But you can make yours. They have tons of templates, so you can make yours look really nice. And so you can use this as a web portfolio as well. It's a very nice type of profile, and your students can make a profile that they can share as well. That'll be very professional. If you teach anything like business English, or if you teach university students or adults, or you even teach high school students, it's important we start getting them to create these profiles. So this is something that comes along with joining a Google community. This isn't something that they can do with Edmodo. Edmodo, it's not a public profile, and it doesn't give as many references. You can't put education and things like that like you can with your Google Plus profile. When you go to Google Plus, let me go back to that. How do you start a community? Well, there's different ways you can start the community. Where did it go? Okay, so first of all, you have to scroll to the left side. And when you scroll to the left side of your Google Plus, then you can see where it says communities. And when you click on communities, then you can see the communities you moderate, or you can even see the communities that you join, or it's going to even give you the option to create a community. So you can go here and it'll say create community. So this is at the top of the page once you click communities. When you click create a community, you get different options. You can make it public. You can make it private. Now, here is one thing that you have to be aware of. When you make it public or private, you can never change it again. So that is something that's a little bit of a downfall. I don't know why they do this, but so you have to be very careful. You have to know, do I want to keep, you have to make that decision. Do I want to keep this public, open to anyone to join? And you may, if it's professional development. Let's say you want your teachers, a bunch of teachers to join to learn about ESL in Bolivia, or to learn about math resources or something. then once you do this, it'll always stay public. You can never decide to go back and say, I want it private. And the other way too, let's say you want to make it private because it's a class and you want your teachers and students to be safe, and this is the setting you choose, then you can never make it public. So this is something to keep in mind. You can create many different communities, so you don't have to worry. You can create a community for each class. You might create a community if you have smaller classes, or you think you want a lot of the participants to join together and collaborate. Let's say you have about, you teach, for example, biology, and you have different classes in biology, and all together you teach about 100 or 200. Then I would recommend that you just make one site for that. And then each year you can just have the same site. And the students will leave from it, but they can stay if they want to, and they can kind of act as mentors. But the reason why you want to do that is because when you're doing a community, when you're establishing a community, it takes a little while to make it active. And so at the beginning, if you think, oh, my students aren't so active, once it starts running for your subject, you never have to create another community. You can just keep it there, and there's no problem. If you make it private, you can always take people out. So you can always take the students out and then have the new ones. But I think it's great to have some action in there, because that way other people see the resources and other students learn from the postings as well. You can hide it from searches, or you can have the privacy option where people can find it, but they have to ask to join. So you can moderate that way. And there's that caution that you can't ever change it. This is what my community look like, and this is what the Google communities look like. Now on your page, I minimized it. So what I mean is that I made it smaller, my computer browser. And because of that, I have 3 columns. But normally, you're only going to have 1 or 2 columns. You're not going to have these 3 columns, because teachers ask me that a lot. This is what I really like about it. With Google Communities, you have different threads. So you can have, this is where they post. It categorizes it for you. And that's something that I like that they don't have with different types of with Edmodo. I find it very hard for students to see where one discussion is. So I categorize it by topic or by weeks. So if I teach, for example, I teach 5-week courses. Sometimes I teach 10-week courses. And that's the way that I create these threads. You can have notifications. What notifications means is that you're going to get an email. You're going to get an email every time that somebody posts, and you may want that when you're starting the community. You can decide what types of notifications if you change the settings. And all of that is right here. You can just click it and it'll turn it off if you think, wow, this is overwhelming. The good thing is, if you have a Gmail, if you have a Gmail, then you can even answer within your Gmail. So you can even respond within your Gmail. And I think that saves so much time. So you don't even have to come to the community sometimes. If a student makes a comment or replies or answers a discussion question or posts their topic, then I can actually go, I can plus it, and I can answer all from my email. And I think that saves me a lot of time versus me having to go and log into another. And that's the thing, is when I have something like Edmodo or I have something like a Facebook group, I always have to go and enter that community, and having to go and enter and come off all the time takes a lot of time. So it saves time that way. You change your settings. You add the threads, the discussion threads, and you add links. You can add different links. You can add a link to the course website, or to a syllabus, or to a lot of different things. You do that by hitting the little gear here that's next to notifications. That's how you make all the edits. That's how you can add a nice picture. That's how you can add a description. So here's the notifications off. So this is the top left-hand corner. And then you can see where it says, and then you can edit community. You can click show post in the home stream. You can choose any of these. Manage members, leave the community, share the community, invite people, all of those different things. Well, thank you, Peggy. Some of the people didn't like them. The first thing you do is you name it, whatever your course is. You can write a really short tagline or description. You can post a photo. And then this is where you add the threads or categories. I suggest a few of them. So I suggest you have an ask a question thread. That's very important. So if students need help, they can go and they can ask you a question there, or they can post a question and then I tell students post an answer, so that way I'm not the one always answering questions because their peers might have them too. I always have a thread also for like a welcome, like an introduction thread where they can introduce themselves. So that's one category. Another one I have is for them to make a suggestion. So if they can post there, they can also add suggestions for anything to improve the community, to improve the class, suggestion to add to our resources, and that way they can engage as well. When you add the different categories, you might want to do topics or themes. And one of the things that I do is I add peer groups. So I add where they can group together, and then I assign peer group leaders, or I have them volunteer because I have adult students. But for your students, you may want to rotate that. So you can even put it on a Google Calendar so they get messages and they know each week if you do it. Okay, so each month if you have a different 2 or 3 group leaders, and then you can have them to where, and the peer groups, all it is they help each other. They're like a study group. They help each other edit each other's homework. They offer peer editing. They help each other with homework. They're responsible for helping each other with the different projects, and that way you will be able to manage and also have some free time, because as a teacher it's really difficult to manage all of this. And so that's one of the things I really like. So for this particular one, we had 577 members, and they were teachers, because that's what I mostly teach, is teachers. And so I had a peer group of teachers who taught adults, teachers who taught young learners, teachers who taught pre-adolescents, and then teens. And those made sense for my students. But for your students, you may want to group them by class. You may want to say class A, class B. You may want to group them in 5 or 10. But that, if you put a category there, then that's their place. That's their place where they can talk, they can discuss, and they can communicate and collaborate with each other. Yes, exactly, Peggy. So Peggy says those categories are posts and not pages like in Facebook. Exactly. So that's why I like it, because it's almost like a forum thread. Like you can post a subject or a topic and then you categorize it. And that's what I like. I like when it's simple organization. Now, when you're creating these, you can move. You can drag and drop the different categories. So you don't have to worry about that. What you can't drag and drop, and I have no idea why they do this, is the links. So once you post your links, which are going to be on the side, there's a limit. I think you can only have 8 links. You can't move them around, so that's something that you want to pay attention to. You want to make sure that you have them in order. And so here are some other possibilities for links. You can have community guidelines. Because it doesn't have like a front page, because it doesn't have it's not like a course page. So I post a syllabus. I think the syllabus is very helpful. A community guidelines tells them this is what the different categories means. This is what the hashtags, these are possible hashtags I want you to use. This is how you should behave in the community. Remember to be respectful when you debate and things like that. So community guidelines, a syllabus, other learning spaces, like maybe you have a wiki, maybe you have a class website, maybe you have a class YouTube channel. So these are things you can post there. Tutorials. I have tutorials, and you're more than welcome to take my tutorials and add them there for Google Plus and using Google Plus, because the students are going to probably ask and wonder, how do I use this? So you can put tutorials and guidelines up there. This is the way you can search. You can search the entire community, which I really like. So if you're searching for a particular post from a student or something that was shared and you just can't find it, you can search. It's really great. Or you can have events. The great thing is anytime you post an event, this is really, really cool. That I like a lot. When you create an event, it creates a whole page for that event. It even gives you where you can embed a video anywhere, which is really neat. It gives you a chat, so everybody can chat in that page. It also gives you different options to where you can, it automatically posts on the calendar, and it automatically goes in this section that says event. Like, you don't have to, once you post it, once you create an event, then it posts in all those sections for you. And then from there, with the Google Calendar, you can even, yes, you can search a comment left by someone on a post. Good question. But the great thing is, once you create this event, you can also choose with the Google Calendar to, if your parents sign up for SMS alerts or your students, then they automatically get a text message that tells them when the event is coming up. Or if they sign up for alerts, just calendar, regular alerts, it'll just pop up for them. That's what happens with when I have it connected to my mobile, and so these events pop up for me, and I can even set if I want to. So you can post an event like a test coming up. You can put homework. You can put all these different types. Whenever if there's a prom, an award, or for example, your students have a game, things like that, I like to put as well in the calendar so that students see that we want to support them. We really want to create a community. And there's different ways that you can post as well. So how do you share? Well, your students share by clicking on one of the boxes, and it pops up. It's like a status update. Let's look at creating events. So to create an event, you go to create event. And when you create events, you can see how over here it already marks it on the calendar. It tells you what kind of event. It doesn't have to be a video event, but I do video events. And one of the great things about the video events is it all automatically record and go to your channel, so you can set up a class channel. But the thing that I like about it too is sometimes I'll do that for tutorials. So if my students are having a really difficult time, then I just create the hangout and I invite somebody that, because you actually don't have to invite anybody. And then what I do is I do a screencast, because with Google Hangouts you can record whatever's on your screen, and it makes it to where I can make a 5-10 minute, a real quick video tutorial, and I don't have to go to Jing or anywhere else. It automatically does it when I do it. So I think that's a really good feature as well. When you create an event, you can change the background, the theme, you can name it, you can say the date, the time, the location, the details, all of that good stuff you can put on there. You do have to make sure you put it just for your group. So make sure that you put it for your group, because I learned this the hard way. If you don't specify for your class, then what happens is it emails every person that follows you on Google+. And I had some people tell me, I learned that the hard way, and they told me, Shelly, and it goes to their email. So they weren't very happy with me for doing that. And then you can share your event if you want to with more. This is what the event page looks like. So the great thing is that the video is already there. It's all they have to do is when the time starts, they just click start, and they can watch you live. You're there live, and they're there underneath talking with each other here. The other thing you can do is they can, if you choose this feature, it's question and answer. So while you're doing the video, they can actually ask you questions, and you can answer them right through the video. So these are some very cool things. It's a great way to flip your classroom. Or let's say you have a snow day. It's a great way to have, when class isn't there, you can still have class. It's a great way to have blended learning. It gives you the event page, so you can click on this, and then you can get that. You can get the YouTube page. You can even get the video embed. So you can put this on a different site if you'd like. You can, let's say you're going to have the same event. So for me, every week we had an online class. So I didn't have to go and create the event again. All I had to do was duplicate the event and just change the date and some of the details if I wanted to. So you can duplicate the event. You can have your students add photos. So if you go to a soccer game, or you go to an award ceremony or anything like that, they can add photos to it as well. They can comment, so if they didn't understand what you were saying from the video or anything like that, if you did do a video instead, then they could post questions. You could go back and you can answer those questions. It shows up in your Google Calendar. This is what it looks like. It'll show up there, and it'll show whether you're going, and it'll just pop up. So once you hover over the event, it'll pop up. You can have the Hangouts on Air is a live video. That's where you're recording a video live, okay? And that's where you can collaborate, you can screen share, you can do all of this. It's free. All of this is free, by the way. It's 10 videos. You can have up to 10 videos. They don't have to show their video. They can just show, it'll show their profile picture, and they can just speak if you want. You can have group meetings. You can have mystery Hangouts. This is a new thing that teachers are doing, and what it is they visit a classroom from anywhere around, and the students, their students get together, and they have to guess through clues from the other class where that class is. So, for example, you might hear there's luau's, there's volcanoes, and then the students might guess, oh, we're going to hang out with students in Hawaii. You can have student games, ceremonies, tasks, presentations, project due dates. You can have them create events. So your students, I tell my students, create events. That was one thing that I tried to encourage them. So how do you post? How do you communicate? Well, I encourage the use of hashtags because you can have limited categories. So if there's specific assignments, then I have them create a hashtag. And the reason I want them to use a hashtag, this is where you put a number sign in front of any word, and it cannot have spaces. It has to be all together. And you can say something like math assignment 1, or it can be my Pechakucha presentation, whatever it is. You keep the hashtag, and what it does is when you click that, it creates a whole nother page, and it'll only list whatever the students tagged with that. It becomes a whole other page, and that's very helpful for collecting things in one area. And that's something that I don't like about Edmodo, is that the tags don't work like that, and I like that we have tags like that. You have to be specific with your hashtags, because like here, see, they did their ebook presentations, And so the hashtag was week 2 ebook presentation. Now it'll give me other suggestions, but if I did something that, and you can see all my students' presentations are right there, and you can see I can even look and see their presentations. So that's something I really like about Google Plus, is when they post a link, it gives you the preview of the link. And when sometimes they'll give you a video, they'll give you a presentation, you can even look within the thread. Sometimes with Edmodo you can do that as well. And then all I have to do is I plus it. Plus it is just like liking something. And I go and I plus everybody's. So my students know I looked at it at least, okay? And this is the way I manage my grading as well sometimes. Is what I'll do is I'll look at it, and when I make a comment, and it's easy to make a comment, I just make a comment underneath, then I can plus it after I make the comment. And that's how I manage, because when I scroll down, if I don't see a red, then I know it turns red. It's usually white, and if I plussed it, it turns red. So if I scroll down the page and I see that it's white, then I say, oops, I missed one, and then I can go and I can respond. This is what the presentation, see, you can even do, if they do a Google Docs, so instead of getting them to do PowerPoint, if you get them to do videos and you get them to do presentations or even a Google Doc, then you can even grade it or look at it within Google+. That saves you so much time because you don't have to go somewhere else either. Yes, this is already on SlideShare. They can always edit their posts. That's another thing I really like about it, is they can edit their posts. So if they make a mistake, with language learners, they're always making grammar mistakes, they can go back and they can fix them so they don't feel embarrassed. You can support collaboration, co-learning together. And that's something, a theory from Howard Rheingold. And what he says is that let's get our students to help each other, to grade each other, to offer feedback, so that way we don't have to. There's no way that I can grade 577 presentations or anything. So I depend on my students to interact with each other and give each other feedback. I create a syllabus with Google Docs, so I created everything with Google. One of the first things you want to do to encourage a community, to get them active, you have to nudge them. And one of the ways you can do that is Icebreakers. So a good digital icebreaker that they do in every community is called a 3-2-1 introduction. It can be 3 things we should know about you, 2 places, and it could be anything, 2 of your favorite colors, 2 things you love about biology, 2 things you love about math, 2 places you visited this summer, a job you wish you had in the future. You can change it. It's just 3, 2, 1. And what they do is they create a presentation. They can create like an Edmodo or a Schmore, a comic that shows this, or a SlideShare, and then they post it up. This is what our community did. We let them choose. So they had haikus, they had prezzies, they had pictures, they had storybirds, they had all kinds that they posted. And they got to know each other, and they responded, and they loved it. They really loved it. See, so you can see here, she says, I am a teacher of EFL too. While trainer, so she's telling us. Somebody else did a comic. 3 things you should know about me. I'm from, now I live in Japan. So they were very creative with it. That's the first thing I get them to do. I assign peer group leaders to keep the discussion going. I'll have peer editing with Hangouts. So they can get together, they can be in video, and they can go in a Google Doc like we are here. Me and we're here. You can see all of us here. It shows all our videos right there. And we can even chat right here and talk about the changes we're making on the document. We can offer each other ideas. We can offer comments, so many different things. To do a hangout on the air, the same thing. Everything's on the left. So if you want to navigate, you move to the left, and that left bar will come out, and that's where you do everything. There's different ways to make it engaging for students. You can have image caption contests, you can have memes, you can have where they fill in the blank, where you say something like, this weekend I am going to, and then they have to respond in the comments. You can make it relate to particular your particular subject. So here was a good one. She posted a picture and it says, working in a garage as a mechanic, is that your dream job? And then people posted, oh, in my childhood I dreamed. So it sparks discussion, it sparks writing. You can create circles. Circles means you can have all one class together and you can share them, and that way they can interact and follow each other. You can have small groups, you can share links, you can have temporary circles. This is a great way that if you have a class, then the next time you don't have to have it anymore. And all of these things you can have on your mobile device. So you're going to have to go back and probably look at this presentation. So don't worry. I know it went kind of fast. There's just so much you can do. There's a lot to learn. So I encourage you to go explore the links and download the presentation. It's for free and you can learn some more. There's different types of apps for it. So when you get the free app, and it is on Android, it is on your iOS, it is even on the iPad, you do separate ones. So you have to, for the video, you have to get the Hangout app. For the Google Plus community, then you have to get Google Plus. So there are different apps. If you just put Google, then you'll find the different apps. So you can find all the Google tools if you go here. But I've also got, of course, a Listly. So you can find all of these if you scroll down and you go to the Teacher Reboot Camp and the resources. You can even download a certificate for attending, and you can find the different types of resources we share as well. Now, there's a question. It says, what are the pros and cons of Google Plus for sharing compared to Padlet or Mammoth? Okay, that's a great question. Well, one of the pros is you can use a Google Doc really easily, and you can have a chat on the side, and that's something you can't have with Padlet. So if students are contributing and adding to a Google Doc or even a Google presentation, you can chat on the side, and that's not part of the document. So it's a great way to really, you can go here and just click on the link that says certificates, and that's where you'll be able to get them. But when you do this, that's one of the pros, and you can make it private. I know you can do that with Padlet too. Another pro is because it's very simple. A lot of times Padlet will crash. At least it crashes for me. Linolet doesn't, but Padlet does. And so with Google it doesn't. The other difference is this is a community, so you get a whole entire ongoing community with this. Versus with Padlet or Mammoth, you could definitely use that in the Google communities. You can have them post on there, but they wouldn't have that where they can interact like it's almost like an online classroom or an extension of your class after. So those would be the differences. I still use Padlet. I love Padlet, and I still use I do use Mammoth sometimes as well. But this is more like an LMS, like a learning management system, or well, actually, it's more like a learning, a virtual learning environment. So those would be the differences. So I hope that kind of helped there with explaining the differences. You can also get the certificates if you go here. So I'll put that in the box as well. Well, I'm going to stop.